Live, brought to you exclusively by Abu Garcia.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? I hope you're having a wonderful day, evening, night, morning, wherever you're at, wherever you're watching and listening. Thank you for tuning in to a brand new Ike Live 2.0. And, man, we got a good one for you today. Joining us in just a minute, the one and only KVD, my good friend Kevin Vandam is going to be joining us. We're going to be playing catch-up with Kevin. It's been a while since we've had him on the podcast, and a lot has changed. Not just with Kevin, but a lot has changed in the sport. So can't wait to catch up with Kevin in just a second. Let me remind you, this podcast is brought to you by Abu Garcia. Head over to abugarcia.com. Check out the brand new Revo Rocket spinning reel, blazing fast, 7:6-1 gear ratio on a spinning reel. Unheard of. Pretty awesome. Also brought to you by the Ike Foundation. If you want to help get kids fishing, head over to the ikefoundation.org. Lots of great information over there on how you can help. And the schedule for the kids' events this year is also up. I had a note from Becky about that. So if you're interested in attending an event or helping with an event, go over there for the dates. It's ikefoundation.org. Okay. I cannot wait to get him on the phone. And before I get Kevin on, let me say that I kind of purposely waited for, to ask Kevin to come on because, when he announced his retirement and when he retired, obviously there was a media barrage. And I wanted to wait for all that. I was kind of like, man, he's getting killed by people. And I really, really wanted to wait until some time had passed. And this is a perfect time to get him on the phone here, to get him on the show and catch up. So joining us now, Kevin Vandam. What's up, man?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. Thank you for coming back on the show. It's funny, Becky and I looked at the records of this show. So 10 years, crazy. Cannot believe 10 years happened like that. But you're right up there. We've had, 5 or 6 guys that have been on, 7 or 8 times, and you're right up there on the list of being on the show a lot. So thank you for coming on again. I appreciate it.
Well, man, it's always good. We, usually have a good time, and yeah, I'm kind of befuddled by where this one could go, because you never know when you're on the Ike Live show how things go. I've seen all the extremes here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In the basement, but
Yeah, this one's a little different. The 2.0 series is cool because I can get a little more one-on-one with guys, but the old style tended to get a little outrageous. It'll probably be a little more calm tonight, but you never know. So the first thing is, and I'll ask you this question, but then I sort of want to give background on this, which is the question is, how's retirement? But before you answer that, I think that people have this skewed view of retirement. And we talked it was like 3-4 months ago, something was going on with Hall of Fame, and you had called me up to remind me about something with the Hall of Fame. And then we ended up talking a little bit, and you said something to me that I knew, but I really believe a lot of our viewers, listeners, a lot of the general public, they're like, oh, Kevin's retired, man. He's got his feet up. He's cracking them buds. He's just chilling. And what's the reality? How's retirement?
Yeah, well, I hate that word, actually, because I never really planned on that. It was just really shifting from one career or one job to another.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did basically give up competitive angling to focus on this next phase of my career, the next job. And man, it's been busy. So, I started a television show. We're doing a lot with our foundation as well. It's something I'm really proud of you. You and I are probably the two guys I know in our sport that are very active in philanthropy and conservation and youth fishing initiatives and things like that. And it's something that I know it's important to you. It's important to me. So we've done more with that as well. But I mean, starting to show, as you've been dabbling in television, different shows over the years. And television today is way different than it was a few years ago, or even last year for that matter.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of ways you can do it. You can just, do a YouTube show. You can do it on a network. You can do it a lot of different ways. And what I've learned is that it's a lot of work, and you have to be everywhere. You got to be creating content for your social channels. You got to be on YouTube. And then, me having the opportunity to work with the folks on the Outdoor Channel, I still think, it's a fantastic platform, because there's a lot of people that they want to watch stuff on YouTube, and there's a lot of people that want to watch traditional TV, and there's a lot of people that want to get their tips and things, in short form or social, or even still, magazines and things like that. So you kind of got to do a little bit of all of it, and that's what we've been really doing. But it really, we've really ramped it up, because I didn't want to go with another group, or I wanted to have 100% control over the content. And so I bought all my own gear, hired my own team, and we're doing all of our own production, editing, and everything in-house ourselves. And it's a lot of work, you have you got a big crew, and I'm just getting started, but you have a big crew with all the different ventures that you're in. And, I know Becky is really involved, and Sherry is with me as well, and, I've got my boys a little bit. They're starting out kind of on their own, doing their own thing. And, so it's a full-time, I'm busier now than I was fishing tournaments. The big difference.
You are right.
No question. The big difference is I'm not married to the tour schedule,
right.
Which is really one of the main reasons why I made that decision. Is, man, I've missed a lot over the years, and your kids are younger. Vegas is coming up, and he's an aspiring pro. He wants to follow in your footsteps. But my boys are they turned 27, dude. How about that?
It's crazy. Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So, my family sacrificed a lot. We were talking for a second when we were setting up this to try to figure out the time to do this show. I was telling you a little bit about my parents and Sherry's parents and what we've been going through there. And with aging parents, it's a challenge. And that was something, on my mind, or on our minds, in this whole decision too. But man, I'm busier than ever. I have 5 episodes of the Vandam experience in the can for the Outdoor Channel, plus all the YouTube stuff we've been doing. I've been having a blast. I've got some cool guests on. I think we've got a great format. I've just been a lot of buzz and excitement about it. And I've had, a gret time up to this point, but I don't sit still anyway. So it's really not what I expected. I'm guessing that next year, once you get that first year under your belt, you learn things, and you learn a little bit. But the one thing that I still tell you is, man, Mother Nature is still number one.
Even in the TV world, in the tournament world, obviously it's a problem. It's always a thorn in your side. But in the TV world, Mother Nature's a bitch too.
Oh, she sucks, man. I mean, we've been fortunate so far, but and you think, man, I want to plan these shows. I want to be at the best places at the best times. It's kind of like setting the tour schedule up, because you and I have both been part of a lot of the advisory committees over the years, both, with Bass and MLF, and, for the leagues to set up the tournaments, it's like, oh, hey, we want to hit Lake Gunnersville and the second week of March on a full moon, and, it's going to be awesome. And then, Mother Nature always has other plans, but that's part of it. But it's been pretty good. We've had some epic stuff happen already. So
I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait to watch it personally. And I think the Outdoor Channel is a great platform. I compare it to, in the world of content, I like the places where you can go for that thing, right? So Outdoor Channel, if you hunt or fish, it's a great platform to go to. Like Becky loves all these home shows. She watches HGTV. It's like nonstop. So if you like home improvement, gardening, go to HGTV. So I think it's a great platform. But I knew you were going to say that you're busier now than before. And I wanted people to realize that, because I do think a lot of your fans and a lot of fishing fans think that you're on an island somewhere drinking a margarita and life is simple. Life is just as busy, just as complicated with what you're doing now. And I do love that you've got more control of your own destiny right now. That honestly, that's one of the things when I get to that part, I'm looking forward to that, having a little more control of your own destiny, more time with your family. I think that's important. But I do want to ask you this. And again, a lot of this is me, because I'm probably a few years behind you. I'm coming right where you're at. So a lot of this is for my information, but I hope the fans like it too. It had to be hard breaking the cycle. You know what I mean? Like, not hard leaving competitive fishing, but hard when you woke up for the first time in a non-competing year, and you don't have to be at a tournament. You're not preparing your tackle. You're not, like that cycle that you've been doing it longer than I have, and when you stop something, you break a routine. It's strange. And did you deal with some of that?
No doubt. I mean, when the first tournaments of the year kicked off this year on the Bass Pro Tour and the Elite Series, both, because I'm a fan first. I mean,
yeah.
you and I are both the same on that same page. And I wasn't there. And I can tell you, my roommates, I think it might have bothered them as much or more as it did me. I stayed with Casey Ashley and Marty Robinson and Jonathan. We've been, we get a VRBO or rent a cabin or something together, and we cook out and stuff. And we've been doing that for years. And the camaraderie on the tour it's one of the things that I love the most about it. Yeah. It's one of the things that I miss the most still. And it was weird, but what I had to do is I had to basically really immerse myself in my show and the prep that I was doing for that, and planning, and, gosh, there's so much that goes into, a television show or running a production company per se. And believe me, we're no JM or we're no Wintercom, like these big houses, but there's a lot to it. And when it's your dime, it's your nickel, as you very well know, it gets real in a hurry, when you, when you show up. And so for me, the filming television shows is a lot like competing in tournaments, because when you roll into town, and you got your whole crew with you, and you got all that travel and their salaries. I mean, the meter's running the minute you leave the house. And if you get a show, great, and if you don't, man, it's just your cost per episode goes up, and it just makes it that much harder. And in this day and age, sponsorship for television is really hard, just like it is for sponsoring tournaments. Looking back already, fishing tournaments was way easier from a business. I had a great routine. I had a great, my sponsors all know what's going on. I mean, I had to retell my whole story, resell myself, what you're doing, explain what, and I'm doing it every day. So, but it was challenging. And
I think people don't think about that. I'm glad you brought that up, because, you have a portfolio of sponsors. And in your case, you've had amazing long-term relationships. You've been one of the lucky guys. And then, you make this change, and you sort of do have to resell them, right? You have to resell them on a new concept. And I'll be honest with you. I'm being 100% honest. I have a great sponsor portfolio as well. But if I were to tell them that tomorrow I'm leaving tournament fishing and doing TV, I think I would lose a lot of sponsors. I really do. And I'm just being honest. I think a lot of them are so tied to me tournament fishing that me benefiting them in other ways, I don't think it would be an automatic. Was that a struggle, or was it easy?
No, it wasn't. It's a struggle, and it is definitely not an automatic. There's a lot of explaining, a lot of showing, and there's a lot of a lot of faith and wisdom. I mean, Toyota's a great example. They've been a great partner for both of us and the sport. I mean, they've been probably the greatest non-endemic company in bass fishing ever. I mean, for what they've done, what they've invested into it. You know, they're tied to Bass Pro Shops. You know, they're the official vehicle for them, so that we share that partnership. But still, making this transition, you know, you have to provide value to them, and that's, you know, this is a great thing for all young anglers to understand, is that there's nobody, you know, handing things out, and they obviously they want you to win tournaments when you're fishing tournaments and things, but winning a tournament doesn't really move the needle. You know, I mean, if we're trying to sell a product, or like Berkeley's the title of this show. I mean, if they're going to give you $100, you've got to sell directly 7 to 10 times that for them to break even. And they're not in business to break even. So, you know, just that basic understanding of, you know, providing ROI to a sponsor and how you do that. And you basically got to go out and explain to them how it's a can't lose deal to them, you know, like how you're going to give them, you know, the media impressions, or, you know, hospitality, or one way or another, to provide that value to a sponsor. And I mean, I was surprised with some of my closest sponsors how much explaining that I had to do. And I'm still, you know, you have to prove yourself every day.
Yeah.
I get up every day and think, hey, what can I do today, or what do I need to do to provide value to these brands? I mean, because we're the very unique position compared to other athletes in other sports, that we're not paid by the team or the league or something like that. We're basically, you know, paid by these sponsors who are interested in our fan base. And we're not in. So there's a big difference between there's lots of influencers. There's lots of YouTubers out there. And believe me, I'm very different. You are very different than these influencers and YouTubers and things like that. We're professionals, and there's a big difference between a professional and an influencer. And that's one thing that, you know, there's some influencers that can get a lot of likes and clicks and views and things like that. But the way they go about it, you know, doing goofy stuff, or one of my personal pet peeves as a conservationist, and I know you this too, is, I mean, you know, people doing crazy stuff and catching a bass and yanking it up on the bank and having it flop around in the grass. And, you know, that just is not, that's not who I am. And that's not the message that I want to do. I mean, it might be interesting to watch, and we've all been part of crazy things, but, you know, that's not what I'm not trying to do things just to create clicks. My only strength, because I'm very different than, a Mark Zona, or a Jimmy Houston, or a Dave Mercer, or a Mike Iaconelli, or anybody else, is I think my strength is being able to help people have a better experience on the water, to teach people techniques and new lures and new thoughts and new ways of doing things, and how I go about it, you know, how I break down a lake, and, you know, how, you know, because I think back when I started, people weren't doing things. They didn't fish fast. They weren't power fishing. And now it's, you know, power finesse, and there's a lot, the sport's changed a lot, but, you know, I think the way that I fish changed the way that this whole new era of anglers has come up to fish, and it's changing again now. I mean, forward facing sonars is another, I mean, you want to talk about a hot topic. It's changing things again, you know, for it. It's always, you know,
always
part of it, but it's in the forefront now.
Yeah, rapidly changing. Kevin, you just mentioned two names, and I have to bring this up because I'm actually curious. You brought up Mark Zona and Dave Mercer, both guys that do an amazing job at, you know, commentating and analyzing and explaining, and they do such a great job because they're fish heads and they get the sport. I know you've been asked this before, but I'm curious. You would be an amazing commentator. You would, and that's coming from me. Have you considered that? Would you commentate if the right opportunity came by, or is that something that is never going to be on the table for you?
You know, I haven't been asked by either league at all. And one of the things for me, one of the reasons that I made this transition or this change is to get away from that schedule, from being married to that schedule.
Right.
That being said, commentating, you have less than, you don't have to spend just the competition days, but it's still, when you got to travel to Little Rock for a Bassmasters to the studios. I mean, Zona's a great friend of mine, and I mean, it burned him out. It just, it did. And Mercer, I mean, he's the Energizer Bunny. I mean, that guy is the hardest working guy in commentating for sure, because he's got to do the blast offs in the morning, he's doing the weigh-ins, and he's doing live in between along with it. You go the Bassmasters Classic week, dude. I don't know how he's not drinking 12 Red Bulls, to get it done. And Dave is a great friend of mine. I mean, I helped him get the opportunity in the beginning because, I mean, you've seen him too. He's really
good. He's really good. Yeah, he's good at what he does. Zona's good too. Yeah.
Baby, I mean, we roomed forever together, and I mean, we talked at great length about retirement and that opportunity to for him, and it really worked out well for for him at the time. I mean, those three guys do such a good job.
Amazing job. Yeah, they're the best in the business, and I get it, and I also, I think, would have a hard time with, you make this decision to leave competitively, and then you're brought back into it from a commentating side. I don't know that I could do it, because I would be chomping at the bit, wanting to do more than commentate. And I do that as a fan. I do that when I watch the MLF, the BPT events. I watch, like you, I'm a fan of the sport, and man, I have a hard time watching because I want to be out there. It draws me in. But I do want to switch gears real quick, and this is Ike Live, so I have to entertain some of these, and these are rumors that have floated out there, and I've been asked personally. So I know you've been hit with them, but I've been asked these questions personally at shows, through social media, and I didn't have an answer for them because I didn't know. So I have to ask these. So okay. I guess the big elephant in the room here are persistent rumors that one day you will return to Bass to compete. Do you want to address that rumor at all?
I am highly confident right now. I mean, you can never say never, but I'm pretty highly confident right now that that's not going to happen. I just, I'm pretty dang focused on what I'm doing. I've got a lot invested in this next venture.
Yeah.
My wife, Sherry and I have talked about it. She said, man, you're not changing. If you make this decision, you're not going back. And I'm good with it. I truly, I'm very comfortable with it, but I've seen other people, I've watched Tom Brady do it, and you watch other athletes do it. But I honestly can say at this point, and I'm, a third of the season in, my first season of not competing, I've got a heavy hitters event left to go. I fished the Red Crest this year, and man, it hurts. I want to win. Like I hate to lose, and I really would like some other opportunities. And I'm going to fish. I will fish some fun events going forward. Maybe there's charity events or celebrity events, things like that. I want to do some of that kind of stuff for sure. But to go back out, MLF or Bass, I really don't see it in the cards at this point. I don't. I'm a fan of the sport, and believe me, I'm for the fishermen first. There's a lot going on right now, and I get asked by a lot of anglers. There's a lot, and it's disheartening to see some of the things happening right now. And I just don't like to see the integrity of competitive bass fishing questioned at all, period. At any level, whether it's, a cheating scandal or sight fishing scandal or forward facing sonar or any of it. It all bothers me.
Yeah, it is strange. It is strange. And, I've talked about it just with Becky and just my close friends, and I've entertained it with larger audiences. And I can tell you universally, and I'm trying to say this the right way. There seems like there's been an air of negativity surrounding professional fishing since the split, since the MLF bass split. There seems like there's been just an air of negativity, but it really seems even more so today. And I think it's what you said. I think it's, maybe some of the scandals. I think it's for sure the forward-facing sonar technology. But it's something that I'm like, it's like when you hadn't got a shower for a few days, you just kind of feel dirty. Like you want to get rid of it. I'm
with you. I don't like to, I'm not ever looked for controversy, and I've always tried to do things the right way. And I've always tried to look big picture. But that being said, like I said, I'm an angler first. And I've always been on the side of the anglers and try to think, big picture and long term, and what's good for the sport, and what's good for conservation, and what's good. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any means, but I've always had that at my core, and I've always tried to use my heart to think, to do the right thing, for the sport. And really, like say, for the anglers. And that's where I say there's no easy answers right now, but it does seem, like, especially this past year, there's been a lot that's really not been a positive light by any means. And it's hard to get around it. It's just, things are changing. Just the media platforms in themselves, the tournament platforms, they're not what they used to be for young anglers. And we've done a great job. You and I both, and a lot of other anglers over the years, to build this dream and this expectations of, hey man, if you make it to the Bass Pro Tour, it's going to be great. Or if you make it to the Elite Series, it's going to be great. And sponsors are going to be easy to get and that. But the reality of it is it's never been that way. And, the platforms are there, but there's no doubt that you have to work really hard for it. But I just don't like, and I live in the trenches. Like I've worked the Red Crest Expo, the Classic Expo, the Bass Pro Shop Spring Classics, a lot, in-store things. I've done a lot of shows this year. So I think I have a really good vibe on where the sport's at and how our fan base is really feeling. And I know you do. You're a hard worker too, and we have the same feelings right now, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's my basis of comparison. And when I look back, and I said this in my Hall of Fame speech, I feel like there were like these two golden eras of the sport, and one of them was your era from the early 90s to call it the early 2000s. Man, what a great time of the sport. And there was so much prospect and opportunities and new things. And, it just really seems like it's halted and almost gone backward a little. And I hate it. I hate it. And I'm hearing the same things you're hearing at shows and events and from people and talking to people. And it hurts because not just because I'm a fan of the sport, but I want to see that next generation come up with something better than what we had. And I don't think that's the case right now. I really don't,
It's tough. To me, the greatest era for sure was the ESPN era. It brought bass fishing, competitive bass fishing, to the mainstream media. And that timing with Jerry McInnes and really Mike McInnes, and Mike got inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. So so deserving of that. He's the guy behind the scenes that really helped bring bass fishing to the mainstream sports fan. And once we got that momentum, I thought we could continue to carry it. And you were a big part of Major League Fishing from the beginning. It was different. It was very great for television. Those cup events were super highly watched, and whole different fan base. And the sport has grown a lot. There's no doubt that there's not many sports fans, period, around the country or the world that don't know what professional bass fishing is. So to me, that's a real positive thing. And, since the split, the competition has created some opportunities. I mean, both leagues plus the NPFL are slap full. And but I see some signs that are not great right now. I mean, with recruitment at the lower, the grassroots level and co-anglers and things like that, just with forward-facing sonar, there's some deterrence and the cost,
right.
The price of boats, electronics, equipment, there's a lot of, and I don't have all the answers, but believe me, I'm, trying to be objective and look at it from everybody's view. I mean, the leagues have to be, they have to be successful. They have to make money. The sponsors need to get a return on their investment to support it, especially the industry. The Strike Kings and the Berkeleys and the Mercuries and the Yamahas and the Bass Cats and the Nitros and the, Ranger, all these companies that directly sell the products that, support the anglers themselves. I mean, they all have to be healthy, but we also have to have a great platform for, the Toyotas and the Coca-Colas of the world too.
Yeah.
And, I'm not so sure that we don't need to look at some big changes, in every other sport. You look at NASCAR or the NFL or Major League Baseball or any sport, they do things that, bring the fans to. I mean, that
right.
The fans want. I mean, you see that NASCAR's done a really good job of that in the last handful of years of changing the rules and the formats and the way the teams are set up and that, so you don't have the dominance there. And the NFL has done the same thing. And baseball, speeding up the game. There are a lot of things like that to make it better for our fans. And the challenge right now is the media platforms. If you're the NFL, man, it's no big deal because you're going to be network television is going to, put you on their channels where you're going to get most viewership. Now with all these streaming services and again, just the fragmentation of cable TV and YouTube TV. I mean, we're just trying to find the next great platform for outdoor entertainment. And at the end of the day, it's a sport and it's a competition, but it's got to be entertaining. If you don't have,
it has to be right. It has to be a reason for people to watch and get excited and want to watch. If that goes the other way and people are bored and they're not entertained and they don't want to watch, that's bad, right? They're gonna find another sport, or they're gonna find another thing, or something else. So I don't want to harp on this too much, but I did want to get your take on this because it seems like, Kevin, I'm not lying. I don't know, the last dozen of these that I've done in the last 3 months, it comes up every podcast, every time. And
conversation, man.
You mentioned it. It is the single most polarizing topic I've ever dealt with personally in my career. But forward-facing sonar. And so kind of a double part question. First is I would love your opinion on it. I've given it a million times. I am not a fan of forward-facing sonar. I'm not good at it. I don't, should we stop technology? No, but I believe there got to be something done. So that's my opinion. So I want to hear your opinion. But how happy and how proud are you that you came up in an era that didn't have that? Like, I look back on this all the time and I'm like, gosh, thank God my come up was during a time when this wasn't there, and like, I'm thankful all the time that I came up in an era where, you could fish and work hard and you're casting into the unknown and even just competing against you, when I would win a tournament and you were in the tournament, dude, that was like a double win. It was like a double win. It was like I beat the greatest fisherman in the world. Oh my God. I only did it like once or twice, but it was through fishing. It wasn't like there wasn't this thing. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's I'm a fan first, like I said, and I've watched a good bit of it, and it's just the thing that I love about the Elite Series or the Bass Pro Tour, the way that it was is I love the diversity, and you didn't see a guy that was one dimensional dominate. I mean, you
Right.
might see where a season set up where the shallow water bite was real good, and Denny Brower would do really good 3-4 tournaments. And I've watched all these great angler of the year runs over the year. I've watched Davey Heights. I've watched yours. I've lived mine. David Fritz. I mean, just time and time. Aaron Martins. I've seen Polinick. I mean, all these Swindle. I've seen them do. Lots of different people get in that zone.
Yeah.
Where they're making good decisions and they're reading the weather and the conditions, but there's still a lot of guesswork to it, and now with the forward facing sonar, it's changed all that. It's changed the way we think at it. And I think that a lot of the viewing public doesn't really understand it, because if you haven't spent a lot of time around it, you can't understand it and exactly what it is. But there's a lot of great videos out there, and there's a lot of people that's all that they do. And there's restrictions in every sport on
Right.
the equipment. And in any other sport, I don't know that I've seen technology be a bigger factor in. I mean, it's not in golf. It could be in NASCAR, and the leagues shut that down real quick.
Right.
NASCAR changed that, for a reason. And, we don't hunt. You can't, like, thermals are great to use for hunting, but, for hogs that are just nocturnal, or coyotes that are, they're effective for that. But, we don't use them to deer hunt,
Right.
things like that. And
Right.
we don't use electronic collars for mallards and things like that. So there's things where technology, and believe me, I'm not a hypocrite, because I have been a beneficiary in my career of a lot of technology, of side imaging, of Mega 360, of Lake Master mapping, of down imaging. Technology's always been a big part of it, but it seems and feels different, and I don't think I'm wrong. You and I, we've talked about this multiple times, and
Yeah.
I'm with you. We've got to do something, because there's a lot of the fan base that is just like, hey, saying it is too much. It is.
Yes.
It's
Something has to give. Something has to give. And I love the analogies, because I think they're great analogies. I think that other sports have had these things happen, and they had to deal with it to keep the sport going in an upward direction, right? So I think that's where we're at for sure. And I think something will happen. I have a feeling something will happen for sure. I do want to jump back, and this is, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. You mentioned it a little bit, Kevin. When you look at your career, 100%, I would say you are the most well-liked, respected anglers out there, and you always will be. And because of that, you've got a place that a lot of anglers will never have, and that's an amazing thing. And you have done amazing things with it. You're going to continue to do amazing things with it. But in your career, while you were competing, you were always very non-controversial, very just black and white, and didn't really dive deep. Will this retirement, now that you're becoming this elder statesman, right? You're becoming a guy that can change the sport. Will this free you up? Are you going to start diving in? I mean, even the forward facing thing you're diving into is controversial, but do you see a day coming where when somebody asked you, man, is that guy a total dickhead or what? And you just say, yeah, he's a dick. Is that day coming?
Yeah, there's some things that bother me right now, out there that you got to just, at some point you got to call a spade,
Yeah.
I just think that, there's, in a lot of cases, there's just nothing, you got to just, nothing good's going to happen if you take a stance one way or the other. It's like politics,
Right.
You're not going to change people's minds one way or the other. If they're on one side or the other, it's just the way that it is. Or religion is the same way. So it's like, you got to pick your battles. But there's certain things, like I said, it starts getting to some conservation initiatives and things like that for clean water and the future of fisheries. Man, I want to be vocal in some of those things. But as far as just somebody being, being stupid or whatever, it's hard to just call a spade. I mean, I'll tell you, there's one thing right now that drives me crazy is this deal between Watson and Boyd Duckett.
Oh,
right?
man.
It's just there's nothing good for anybody around that right now.
No, it seems like a lose-lose kind of deal.
Yeah, it is. And, I've known Watson for a long time, and I've known Boyd Duckett for a long time. And, Boyd is, he's a sponsor of the league. He's the CEO of the league, and he's fishing. So there's no doubt that that's some conflicts of interest right there. There's valid points right there. But, Watson being that way too, that's pretty, in my eyes, it's disrespectful as well. And I wish both of them would get that whole deal figured out. I mean, they're just like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that nothing's good is happening for anybody. And it's a black eye to the whole sport and to every professional angler out there. And that's the biggest word. We said that before, and I was talking about influencers and that. I've always tried to be a professional, and I'm far from perfect, dude. I've had my moments. I've watched you. You've had your moments. Where you're just not. But man, I have seen you time and time again at the end of a tournament when you've had not your best day, and there's a line of kids there or fans there to, make sure that you spend time with them, sign autographs and do that. And I believe me, there's many a time over the years that I look over there to the side and we're the last two guys at the weigh-in.
A lot. That's happened a lot over the years. And in bad weather too. I can remember a couple times looking over there and it's like pouring, and we're just kind of like,
yeah. I would rather, I want to be on my way home, headed back to my family and all of that. But, you got to do, the right thing. And again, that's part of being a professional.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's hard because in this sport at the top level, whatever you want to say, there's 3 leagues now, and there's 300 professional anglers in the pool out there. They're 300 independent business people, right? They got to, people making decisions for what's best for their business and their families, and it's hard to not fault them for that. But like I say, I've always tried to look big picture and try to do what's right for the groups. In a lot of cases, it's not been good for me. The split is a classic example. That hasn't been, that was a tough time in the sport for all of us.
Right.
But that's what, occasionally things have to be reset. You see strikes in the NFL, and, you're going to see people do those things because they feel like they're trying to help or better themselves. And I'm never going to try to fault somebody for trying to better their situation or their family.
Yeah.
But I just, like I say, there's a difference between being a professional and being an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that you are passionate about the sport and you're going to stay with the sport. So many people, I think, when they get to the point where they don't want to compete anymore. They're done with it, you know. And you have an amazing influence on people in the sport, and you wanting to see the sport get better. That's awesome. It needs to happen. Hats off to you for doing that. That's what I would like to do as well when I'm done. I want to stay in it and help the guys and help create something better, you know, for Vegas, for Vegas's kids, you know, for that whole next generation. So hats off to you for doing that and caring. And who knows, maybe this will be a bit of a role reversal here, Kevin. Maybe, you know, now that I'm getting older, I'll become the very uncontroversial guy, and just, you know, and then you take my spot, and you get over there, start cursing dogs out, and, you know, yell at people. We could do a little bit of a role reversal here.
Yeah, there you go. That would get people fired up. So, you know, it is. I like to have a good time every now and then, but it is the coolest part about this sport is the fraternity of the guys out there, you know. And it bothers me a little bit that we're losing a little bit of that these days, you know. But it's part of it. I mean, a lot of the guys that I grew up fishing against are aging out, and that's normal. It happens in every professional sport. But fishing, you know, obviously, there's more longevity to it. Watching Clun in his 50th season, it's crazy.
Amazing.
I love the coverage that they're doing, you know, on the history of the sport, and it bothers me, and that's why I'm so involved in the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. It bothers me that a lot of these young kids coming up today don't know what Ray Scott did.
They have no idea. They have no idea.
So that is a mission of mine for sure, is to, you know, keep telling these stories. And, you know, you, like I say, you got inducted in the Hall of Fame last year, and you got to see what the event's all about. And this year's going to be a really good one. And we got a great class again with Skeet and Zona and Mike McInnes. And then, of course, Alfred Williams, who's, you know, groundbreaking. You know, he's probably the first successful African-American to get into professional bass fishing.
Yeah.
And then Fred Arbogast, who's passed away, but iconic lure designer of the Jitterbug. And so it'll be a great class again, and a great way to celebrate the sport and the history of the sport, but also, you know, be working towards the future. And so that's, I like working with a lot of these different organizations like that. And Bass Fishing Hall of Fame is one, but conservation groups and things like that. And, you know, through my foundation, and I know you do the same thing, you know, it's, we're just trying to make the space a little bit better for the future, and great, you know, more opportunities for the next generations to come.
Yeah. But that's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm so glad you're doing that, because we need to keep that history going. It's so important. Kevin, we're going on 50 minutes, but there was one more note I had on another rumor, and this one's it's not as controversial. This is actually a rumor that I hope is true, but want to get your take on it and want to get your opinion on the rumor. And basically, there's been a rumor. Let me make sure I get this correct. There's been a rumor floating around that shortly, I don't know what that means, but Bass Pro Shops will be starting a seniors tour with no forward-facing sonar, no practice. Like, it reminds me a little bit of like the old MLF Cup events, you know? Any truth to that rumor? And if that did happen, would you compete in a seniors tour?
Gosh, that sounds really interesting to me, you know? First off, I don't know I'm not 65 by any means. But
I think they were basing it off of the same criteria for Hall of Fame, which was 50. So it's funny. I can't make this up. So Bassmaster today, a guy from communications department called me up and said, "Hey, I have an opportunity for you." And I'm like, "Man, that's cool." I'm like, my phone hadn't rang for Bassmaster communication in a long time. Like, yeah, like, what is it? Like, I take anything, you know, what do you got? This big article, 39 million impressions in the magazine, and it's just a day of fishing. I'm in. What is it? AARP this fall. So, I mean, you hit 50 and I guess things change. I guess we're the old seniors now. I don't know, I don't know. But
well, I can tell you this, man, I still love it. Every day that I've had some great days on the water this year already. St. Clair pre-spawn and fishing up here in Michigan, I've been able to hit some great windows, and I'm like a giddy little kid out there, and to be able to capture a lot of that on camera has been a ton of fun. You said it a little while ago. You can't fake that passion, right? I mean, I'm a bass head. You're a bass head. I mean, we live it. We love it. Zona and I talked about it. It's like, hey man, what are we going to be doing? And we talked about this 20 years ago. It's like, man, we're going to be doing exactly what we're doing right now. And we're still doing it. I mean, we talk all the time, and it's just like little school girls, out there after it. And it's so much fun. And the great thing is with some of the negativity around the sport right now, you tend to, it's easy to dwell on that. But the great thing is, man, is truly bass fishing currently is about as good as it's ever been, man.
Ever.
Technology's better and all these other things, but I mean, we're like smallmouths are bigger in the north, and they're catching giant fish in the south, and
better than it's ever been. Shout out to global warming. Shout out to exotic species like gobies.
Yeah.
Yes, better than it's ever been.
I worry about the windows of that and how you can keep that pace going. So I mean, that's a testament to the anglers themselves and the jobs they're doing with conservation, catch and release, and a lot of the state agencies and the jobs they're doing in managing these fisheries and things like that for sure. But gosh, they're just not building more lakes, and they're not adding, and man, we've got more interest in fishing than we ever had. I mean, COVID was a blessing after the fact in that sense. It brought a lot of people outdoors, and the boom in kayak fishing and just even short, I see a lot more anglers on the water than I ever have, especially early season, and that's positive. And I do like to see that, but God, I want to sustain it,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of good happening, even with this little cloud we have over us. A lot of good happening, and a lot of good that can happen. So, dude, thank you for coming on the show, and dude, keep doing what you're doing. Honestly, best ambassador in the world for the sport of bass fishing. Keep doing it, Kevin. So awesome. So glad you picked this sport, because we need a person like you in this sport. Real quick, I have the question because I want to know, when can we officially watch the new show? Where? I know it's Outdoor Channel. When are we going to start seeing them? I can't wait to see a show.
Yeah. So that is, but and it's on the Outdoor Channel. Starts
perfect.
That me or you?
I don't know. Say it again, just in case everybody didn't hear that.
It's the Vandam experience, and that's a cool one, right? Oh.
We made it through like the whole interview till the very end, and then like the polar guys snuck in to the sound studio. It might be. Let me look around for a second, because it might be the ghost of Brian the Carpenter. Even though he's not producing this show anymore, anytime something goes bad, like if there's a glitch, it's his fault. Because I can't tell you how many shows he's ruined in the last 10 years. So even in his absence, he's still ruining shows. So Vandam Experience, Outdoor Channel, and when can we see it, Kevin? Say it one more time.
January of 25. So
January 25. Okay. Well,
13 originals.
I cannot wait to see it. Looking forward to it. And I'll see you out on the road, and keep doing good things, and appreciate you coming on the show. It was great to catch up with you. Great to hear your opinion on some of that stuff.
You bet, buddy. Good to talk to you again. And like I say, I know we'll see you soon.
You got it.
The Tundras will be crossing paths.
You know they will. Tell the family we said hello.
Yep. Likewise, man. Have a great one.
We'll see you. Bye, Kevin. There you have it, guys. KVD. Always awesome to have him on Ike Live. And so thankful to get him on this new 2.0 version. And man, it's amazing that he's had the success competitively in his career and continues to have success even after retirement. I put that in quotes because it's not retirement, but retirement. So we need him in this sport. I'm so glad to have him. Also want to real quick thank all you guys with the comments for this new series, this new 2.0. It seems like every week I'm looking at the emails. You guys are liking this 101 format. So thank you for the good comments, and keep your suggestions for guests and keep your questions coming, and we'll keep passing them on. Even the ones that are bad, like the one I gave Kevin that all you guys wanted to know is Kevin returning to bass. I knew he wasn't, but I had to ask it because you guys wanted me to ask it. So keep the questions coming. Keep the comments coming. Having a lot of fun doing the show with you guys. Also, just a reminder, go to abugarcia.com. Check out the great new products over there, especially that Revo spinning reel, 7:6-to-1 gear ratio, and get kids fishing. Head over to the IkeFoundation.org. You want to find out how to get kids fishing in your area. Lots of ways to get involved in that, and we need that. If you want to grow the sport, you want to get kids off the computers and back out into the outdoors, go over to IkeFoundation.org and check that out. So thanks to Kevin for coming on. Thank you for watching and listening. And we'll see you very soon at the next show. Bye, guys.
Do you fish for excitement? Do you fish for passion? Do you fish to get outside? Or do you fish to win? Abu Garcia for life. You know, right now where we're standing, we're in Camden, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is right there. This is the concrete jungle. And, you know, a lot of those kids, as they grow up, they don't fish. It's interesting because they're surrounded by water. You know, the Delaware River, the Schuylkill, ponds, city park lakes. But they don't have the influence to cast, to fish, to have a rod and reel. And that became our focus, you know, is to target kids in what we call non-traditional areas, you know, urban areas, city centers, where the population's high, and let these kids have an experience. You know, it's amazing. I mean, some of the experiences we've had, whether it's Central Park in New York City, here in Camden, other parts of the country, even just casting.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to see it, isn't it?
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
And you know, you see these kids have this experience they've never had, and they light up, you know? The big thing, I think, for the Ike Foundation is we're not saying we want all these kids to become professional anglers.
Yeah.
It'd be great if some of them did, but we want them to have that fishing experience because it ties them to so many other positive things. The outdoors, nature, conservation. Ecology, you know, all these amazing things in life that maybe they wouldn't have been exposed to any other way. We're trying to help with that. So it's important. It's important for us.
Yeah.
We're proud of it.
I subscribe to Bass U TV, and so should you.
Great place to learn about anything you want to know about bass fishing.
You get it at Bass U. We got the best of the best.
I'm not just an instructor, I'm a subscriber.
I'm John Cruz, and I am a subscriber.
You can always learn, and watching Bass U is definitely helps with that. It's something that I like to do, and it's definitely something that you need to do.
If I'm still learning, you should be too.
Subscribe to Bass U because you'll learn how to catch a lot more fish.
Ike Live, brought to you exclusively by Abu Garcia.